So a few years ago, my Aunt Carrie came to Denver and she had reached out to the community. And she was saying that she was coming in town and that if Brother Peter was available, if I could get a meal with him, that'd be awesome. And so growing up, I didn't really get to spend a whole lot of time with my extended family. So when I heard that she was coming in town and that she wanted to get a meal with me, I was really excited. So we went to the Gaylord, I think, which is right by the airport, and we were at this Italian restaurant. And as we were sitting there, we started sharing a meal. And I remember at one point in the conversation, I asked her, Aunt Carrie, what was life like for you guys growing up? What was life like? And I remember she just started going, story after story after story. It was like 30 minutes, an hour and a half. And I just wanted her to keep going. And I remember after she had shared all these stories, and I could ask whatever question I wanted about her childhood, my mom's childhood, what my grandparents were like, all of these different things. I remember walking out of the Gaylord Hotel. And I remember there was just like this feeling of like, I don't feel like I've ever understood my family so much as I have right now. And it was really beautiful because it gave me a new feeling and a new sense for, there's this huge emphasis in the Jewish tradition, right, of these verbal stories that are being shared and just handed down. If you've ever been part of a Passover meal, a Seder meal, there's this point, right, where the father is supposed to dictate the story after his son asks, Father, why is this night unlike any other night? Right, and that's taking us back to this oral tradition that was so classic for these Jews. And I've always kind of like wondered, like, what's the importance behind that? And I saw when I was with my Aunt Carrie and she was sharing stories about my family with me, that when I hear these stories, you realize that to know where I come from, right, if I know my family, if I know my background, it helps me to know who I am today and why I am the way that I am today. And so if you haven't noticed yet, we're still in the book of Genesis. And so in this book of Genesis, right, we can kind of just hop past the title and let's just start going into the verses, right? But I think it's really important to take a second of like, why is this book called Genesis? That's not really a word that we really use today. And so Genesis, when the biblical writers the translators were translating it into Greek, they took the Hebrew word, translated into this word Genesis, and it means what most people think it means is beginning. But I think what some people forget about is that there's actually another meaning to the word Genesis. And it's not just beginning, but it's origins. Origins. And sometimes I think when we go to Genesis, we can turn it into, especially Genesis 1, 2, and 3, particularly 1 and 2, you can turn Genesis 1 and 2 into kind of like an apologetic textbook, right? Like this is what it means for creation to happen, right? But we know from church tradition, particularly Providentesimus Deus and also St. Augustine, that Genesis is not a scientific textbook. And it's very obvious when you just sit back and like think about it. Okay, could this actually be a scientific textbook? Okay, number one, we know it's not. Because in Genesis, God does not create from nothing. And we know from philosophy and our church tradition that God created ex nihilo. Also from 2 Maccabees 7, it makes this abundantly clear. So if Genesis isn't trying to get to a literal scientific depiction of what happened in that moment when God created everything, what is Genesis for? What's the point of Genesis? And I think more than understanding creation, God wants you to understand you, to understand your origins. Where did you come from? What does it mean for you to be man, for you to be fallen, for you to be human? What does it mean for you to be created in His image and likeness? Who are you and what are you? And so today, I just want to continue looking at Genesis, asking this question of, what are we made for? What are we made for? Okay, so I promise you, like what we're about to do in this video, you might hear the title and you're like, that's not my topic. But what I want to talk about today is that you are made for order. And I promise, whether you're type A or type B, you need to watch this video. And if you're already watching with me, stay with me. So we're going to start by reading Genesis chapter 1. And so it says this in the first 5 verses. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was moving over the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, one day. So according to Genesis, in the beginning, It was without form, and it was void. There was darkness over the face of the deep. Okay? If you don't know this by now, go back and watch Brother Andrew's video where he talks about tohu wabohu. But there is utter chaos that exists. And what does God do? What does God do with all of this? There's a movie that we love in our community. It's called August Rush. And if you haven't seen August Rush, I highly recommend for you to go watch it. But the kind of premise, just so you can understand what I'm about to talk about, is August is an orphan boy, and he's in search for his parents. But the beauty of the story is that August, this orphan boy, has a beautiful gift. He has a beautiful gift for music, and he doesn't even understand it himself. And there's this awesome scene when August is leaving his orphanage, trying to escape so he can go find his family. And he gets, I don't know if it's a bus or he's in a taxi or something, but you pick it up, and August is now in New York City. Okay, he's right on the corner of this massive busy street, utter chaos, taxis going by, all of this noise, construction. And as he's standing there, he hears all of this chaotic noise, and in his head, he immediately starts to make this symphony. He puts everything into its proper place where he can organize it, and he starts making this music that's out of it. And this is exactly what God's doing. He's making a symphony out of the chaos. But why? Why include this detail in the story? Why is God ordering everything? And so whenever I think about order, whenever I think about chaos, I think about servants' feast day parties. So the servants, as part of kind of our rule of life in the community, once a semester we'll hold a big feast day party where we invite all of these families, and there's about 150 people with kids and stuff like that, and that come over, and we're cooking steak, and it's just this big all party. And it's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. But it's also a little stressful, right? All of the shopping, all of the cleaning, all of the preparations, everything that goes into an hour and a half of just time together. So why put all of the hours that go up to it? Why invest all of that time for just an hour and a half? And it's simple. It's just so we can feast with maybe all of you. If you're in Denver, maybe you've been to one of our feast day parties. It's that we can together enter into a celebration with the church. So all of that ordering that we do with the feast day, it's for something. It's for you. And so I can look at Genesis, and with the chaos and the ordering of God, I can ask, why is God ordering everything? Is God just OCD? No. God is trying to teach us something very, very important. And so I can look back on this origin story, Genesis origin, and I can see that God is trying to reveal something to me. And it has something to do with this word order. He ordered everything else in the universe just for you and for me. And so now if you're still watching by this point, I want to turn to you, the viewer. Why do you want order in your life? Or why do you not want order in your life? Why order? It's a really important question. And I think there's kind of two extremes that we can go into. Number one, maybe you're the choleric, you're the go-getter, and you can't function without order. Then order might be for your control. That's not why we need order in our lives. Or maybe on the other extreme, do you struggle to pray every day? Do you find yourself just getting into random conversations that just somehow suck up 30 minutes? Then you might need to lean into the other side and discover the beauty of order that actually might be good for you. But even then, it's not so that I don't get lost in conversation. That's not why I have order. It's simple why we need order. It's to be like God. God brings order. I'm made for order, so therefore, I want order so I can be like God. So I just want to recap real fast, okay? So number one, to know where we come from helps us to know who I am today. My origin story helps me to know who I am. And Genesis, number two, is your origin story. Number three, God reveals that you are made for order. And number four, we ask this question today. Why order? Why do you need order? And it's to be like Him. So what I want to challenge you with, and at the end of this video, is this. This week, take the next week and print off a schedule. Okay, and write in that schedule, when am I going to pray today? Okay, when am I going to pray on Tuesday? When am I going to pray on Wednesday? When am I going to have leisure on each of these days? When am I going to have time with my friends and my family? When am I going to have designated time with my wife? Okay, I want you to try to be as intentional as you possibly can be with this schedule before the week even happens. And as Jesus says, you know a tree by its fruits. So see it. If you try to live an orderly life, does it seem like it's actually something that you're made for? Is it something that's good for you? We're praying for you. God bless you.